have just come in to Astra DB's Build-A-Thon. So let me just quickly welcome all of you who have just joined in. Welcome to Astra DB's Build-A-Thon Learning Workshop 2 for the hackathon itself. And this is actually our fourth workshop if you actually consider the pre-hackathon workshops as well. A lot of other participants are joining in, so we would want to give our friends a couple of minutes before we begin. So sit back, relax, and we would get back to you. All right, I think in the interest of time, we'll just quickly begin, and our fellow participants, colleagues can just join in and they would be trickling in. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you from whichever part of the world you're joining in. First of all, I would just like to say that it's been so overwhelming, both for the AngelHack and the DataStax team, to see so much of positive response for this hackathon, and obviously these learning workshops as well. So thank you so much for coming with us in this journey and making it a success. Let me just introduce you to why we are here today. So basically, this, like I mentioned, this is the second workshop of the hackathon itself in the series of Build with Astra DB. But actually, if you talk about if you count the pre-hackathon workshops as well, this is the fourth one. And this is all about introduction to Astra DB again, because we all know that a lot of you must be just joining in, because at the end of the day, this is a three-month hackathon with 3 different challenges, and participants can absolutely join in anytime they want. So some of you must be new to Astra DB itself. Therefore, definitely going to take you through the introduction of Astra DB. And then the most interesting thing of tonight is that how to learn how to build an e-commerce app. And that's something that our colleagues and friends from DataStax will take you through. But before we start off with the agenda and just dive into it, let me just quickly mention the AngelHack and the DataStax team on call today, who is actually behind making this workshop a success. So let me just quickly let me introduce myself first. I think I owe this to you. So I'm Asta from AngelHack, and I will be your host for today. Apart from me, we have Harish, who's the platforms and community lead from AngelHack, and Zail, who's the operations person behind the brain of this workshop. And it's time to introduce my very special guests and colleagues from DataStax, who would be actually taking you through the introduction of Astra DB and the all-important how to build an e-commerce app. That's Aaron and Raghavan, and we call him Rags. So hello, thank you so much, both of you, for doing this for us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Great to be here.
Yeah, same here. Glad to be here. I know it's only virtual, but if you're going to be in Valencia next month, or in a month and a half, whatever, 2 months, please come by and say hi. Usually I'm wearing a hat.
So thank you so much, Aaron and Rags. And we will quickly start off with the agenda now without wasting any further time. So let's see what we have in store for you today in terms of the workshop itself. So like I mentioned, a lot of you must be joining us for the second challenge month and not very aware of what is Astra DB or just getting started with Astra DB. So for all those of you, we do have a recap of introduction to Astra DB and getting started. But before that, a little insight about what the hackathon is all about. And then we go into the session, which you must be most excited about, which is how to learn how to build an e-commerce app. So that's an example that you're going to learn from our experts. And then finally, we will also have Q&A before we close the session. So now, what is Astra DB's Build-A-Thon? I'm sure it's been almost 1.5 months. A lot of you already know and know better than me, and could probably sit here and stand here in this forum and explain. But yes, for those people who would be looking at this live from YouTube at certain point in time, or those participants who are joining in new, Astra DB's Build-A-Thon is basically a virtual hackathon. But when I say basically, it's not exactly basically, because it has a lot of twists, and it's not like your usual hackathons that we have in store. So this hackathon starts from the 21st of Feb to the 28th of May. And I'm sure a lot of you must be thinking, have I missed the bus? Am I not allowed to participate, or have I already missed the bus? Why should I look at it at this point in time? But for all those of you who are thinking this, just a quick insight. We have 3 different challenge months, absolutely different challenge statements, completely different hacks, and at the end of the day, 3 prizes to win. So it's not like we have one single prize. We have 3 different prizes for 3 different challenge months, and each of the challenge month is independent from one another. So for example, if you're a participant who are just joining us, you're absolutely in the right stand to start building on the 2nd month challenge statement. And if your friend is joining towards the end of March, tell him or her not to worry, because we have another set of challenges coming in the month of April, and that's like a fresh hack. And last but not the least, all of the winners of these 3 challenges will actually have another set of prizes to win in the demo day. So it's like a series of mini hacks, which leads to the big final demo day. So don't worry. If you are coming anytime between the 21st of Feb till the April, which is till the April end of May's beginning, you are absolutely in the right track.
So in other words, if I join late, I only have lost the opportunity to win the March prize, right? Which I heard was a great success, with a lot of really good projects being submitted. So that's the only thing you have lost, right? You still have the opportunity to win the grand prize, and still the monthly prizes going forward. So keep on going.
Absolutely, Rax. Very well said. I think that's the only opportunity that I lost. But yes, some very interesting games that we saw in the 1st month challenge. But yes, looking forward to host you in the 2nd and the 3rd month challenge. Now, we don't believe in a lot of rules, and I'm sure whoever has been associated with DataStax and AngelHack know this by now. So for this, it's basically you stick to the challenge statements, or we have an open-ended challenge statement as well. All you have to do is use Astra DB at its core to create magic. So that's all we ask for in this hackathon. How is the round 2 schedule? Now, like I just gave you feedback on this is a fresh month, a fresh start. So we just had the challenge statements released on the 21st of March. From there on, we are on the 25th of March, which is today, where we are having this hackathon learning workshop. And then on the 8th of April, we have the mentor office hours for those of you who are seeking help. And then judging rounds from the 14th to the 18th of April. And we have the winner announcement on the 19th. Before we move on to the 3rd series of challenges, and that's coming up in April. Now, how to participate? Again, like I mentioned, we really wanted to make it easy for all the participants. So there are just 4 steps on how you would want to get started if you're just joining us. Basically, if you have been, if you're in the webinar, either you are a registrant or you're not. I'm sure by the end of the hackathon of the webinar, for all of those who are not a part of the hackathon, they would join us. So we are very, very warm welcome we extend to you even now. But yes, if you were already registered, all you have to do is basically join the Hack Slack, because there it is where all the important communications come in. Do join and sign in for Astra DB. So that's the crux of this hackathon. You have to use you can make any projects. You can use your innovation. All you have to use is Astra DB as its core. Therefore, sign up for Astra DB and create that account. And last but not the least, do not forget to join the DataStax Discord community channel. I think that's where a lot of other magic happens. Our colleagues are also there helping you out. So please do join the DataStax Discord community channel. Now, like I mentioned, there is I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous workshops, but we also have something very interesting for you in this hackathon, which is the leaderboard. So yes, we have gamified it a bit. And for all of those who are interested in the leaderboard on gaining prizes or gaining points and then prizes, do attend one of the workshops that we are having. So please do attend. So this is the second last workshop. We have the last workshop coming in for this hackathon next month. So please do attend any one of those workshops, either today or the next one. And then finally, build your projects, form your project team, and then start building. So that's all we're looking for. And now something very interesting. So like I was mentioning, and like Rax was emphasizing, if you have missed the first challenge month, absolutely no worries, because we have not one, not two, but 4 set of prizes to be won. That's right. So we have each of our monthly challenge winners are actually getting the monthly prizes. So the first winner, the winner actually gets USD 2,500 as a team. The first runners up gets USD 1,500 as a team, and the second runners up gets USD 1,000 a team. Now this is happening for all the 3 challenge months, and these prizes are separate. And then, like I was mentioning, whoever are the top 3 winners of all the challenge months, they actually end up meeting in the finale, which is in the form of demo day. And there the winners actually get 5,000 USD as a team. The first runners up gets 2,000 USD, and the second runners up gets 3,000 USD, and then the second runners up gets 2,000 USD. Now that's not all, because we have a lot of other awards to win. Engagement awards. That's we want to create you, the participants, to create a buzz about the hackathon, because you should be proud of this journey. And thus, whoever are the teams who are actually participating in all the challenge months definitely end up winning 500 USD as a team. Bring your friends, colleagues across, and then help them to participate in the hack. And if you are the top 2 hackers who have the maximum number of referrals, as an individual, you would be winning 2,250 USD. Learning pathways. So we have some quizzes and some fun learning exercises for Astra DB and Cassandra. Do attend that. All that is available in the participants guide. And if you're the first 60 qualifiers every month, you actually end up getting USD 50 per person as an award. But that's not all. We have a lot of swag for you, because what is a hackathon without swag, right? So, like I mentioned, we have a leaderboard, and there are a lot of ways in which you can gain lead in the leaderboard. But the top 10 hackers of the leaderboard, now this is towards the end. So at the end, we would be combining and seeing who are the leaderboard winners at the end of the challenge month 3. But basically, the top 10 winners get an all-exclusive Astra DB swag box worth 200 USD. The next set of participants, which is next 20 folks, get a limited edition Astra DB hoodie. And the next 100 participants actually get an exclusive Astra DB t-shirt. So the DataStax team has been really, really cool about this. There are a lot of prizes, a lot of swag to be won. So do participate and have those amazing projects in. Now, let's talk about the challenge month 2 and some of the challenges we have before I hand it over to Aaron and Rax to take it forward. So basically, like I mentioned, the second challenge month was launched this Monday, and that is the 21st of March. And we have 3 sets of challenges for you. The first one is the winning formula from work from home. I mean, I don't have to say anything about this. 2.5 years in the pandemic, all of us are thinking, how can we make this work better? So that's there in everybody's mind. And that's where we took the inspiration of taking this challenge. So basically, all you have to do is use Astra DB and make remote working more efficient and effective. So we are looking for solutions which make remote working more effective and efficient. The second one, which is also my favorite one, is the e-commerce challenge with a twist. So, I mean, this is from a social cause. We are all about e-commerce, and the boom has increased again because of the COVID environment that we have, and therefore a lot of e-commerce, online shopping has expanded. Now, can you actually relate that to a social cause? So we are thinking about an e-commerce application that helps us to donate items across the globe and help the poor. So can we do that? And please feel free to use your imagination on how we can get a social twist to the e-commerce challenge. And last but not the least, if you are not sure about the first two ones, you think it's a little too difficult to hack these, please feel free to get your own solution, get your own idea. Just make sure that you use Astra DB at its core. Now with that, I think I've taken a lot of time. It's almost 15 minutes into the workshop. So I would now like to invite my friends and colleagues from DataStax, Aaron and Raghavan, and we call him Rags, to take you through what Astra DB is all about, and then the e-commerce app example. So thank you so much, and over to you, Aaron.
All right. Well, thank you, Asa. I'm going to share my screen here in just a second. All right. All right. So how is that going? Can everybody see my screen there?
Looks good, Aaron.
Yeah, we're all good. All right. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome. This is going to be a quick shortened version of one of the workshops that Regs and I have run before. We've been doing a series on building out an e-commerce website using Astra DB. So the focus, of course, is on Astra DB, the database level, kind of optimizing the data model and the service layer code. So that's what a lot of this is about, and we'll cover that. Oh, Rags, I just now noticed what you did with the subtitle there of session 2 of 3 or 4 or. We've done 3. We've got one more planned, and we might do another one depending on how far we get. But
yeah. So I couldn't make up my mind, so I put it as ...
I think that's pretty funny. So, all right. So we're going to jump around a little bit here because a lot of this, that's in the presentation is meant for the workshop. But essentially, this is what the architecture looks like. Oh, you know what? I bet you guys don't need to see that. There we go. Okay. This is what the architecture of the website that we're using is or we're building is going to be served on. Essentially, we have our user interface, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, UIs. This one in particular, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on. A lot of it's been pre-built. We're just kind of building up the backside, the plumbing to it. But it's built in, React, Node.js, and using the Tailwind CSS web component. So the whole idea was to spin it up as quickly as we could while concentrating on the back end. Essentially, the service layer runs on top of Spring Boot. So we have a lot of Java code built around, optimizing like Spring Boot services. And then, of course, on the back end, we have DataStax Astra DB that's actually using Spring Data Cassandra repository. So that's how this is all kind of tied in together.
I mean, one thing worth mentioning in the previous slide, Aaron, is that it's kind of written with microservices in mind.
That's right.
And you can kind of take the front end and plug in something else. If you don't like Tailwind CSS, you can absolutely do that, right? And even without the front end, you can do like business to business transactions because let's say AWS or Amazon is interested in our website. All that they need to do is call the REST calls. It's
That's
at the bottom
right.
here, and you can use it like for the program to program interaction. The idea is, again, to keep it so flexible, kind of multiple building blocks so that you can kind of put them together. And I think I'm stealing a little bit of Aaron's thunder, but he's going to get to that in a second.
That's all right. That's okay. Team effort here, right? All right. So real quick, I know we've talked about Astra DB a lot, but to be honest, when you're building out for e-commerce, especially large scale e-commerce, I actually used to work at Target Corporation, where we they run several brick and mortar stores, several thousand actually brick and mortar stores across the United States. You look at times like holiday shopping. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we would see our order throughput go up like 10 times its normal levels, during those times. So everything we built at Target had to be super duper scalable. So that's where a lot of the lessons that I've learned anyway have kind of come from and are showing up here. But Astra DB is great for something like that. And that I guess it leads to that last bullet point there of no touch scalability. I mean, really, it is super scalable, and it does expand automatically based on what your throughput and what your workloads look like at the time. And the cool thing is that there's no operational overhead. Database as a service, so DataStax manages it for you. Not cloud vendor bound. I'm kind of jumping around the list here a little bit, but that's okay. So we can deploy Astra DB for you in AWS or GCP or Azure, wherever you've got your app built, we can deploy. And the other great thing is geographic awareness. Let's say that you have like e-commerce customers who are, maybe you have some in Central Europe, and maybe you have some in one of the Asian cloud regions, and you need that same data replicated. Well, you can go ahead and serve the same data in both geographic regions in the cloud, and actually make it so that your service layer in your website has a very short trip down to the data, and it's not doing like a call halfway around the world just to pull back product data. So that's something you definitely that definitely comes in handy, I would say. All right, so now looking at our particular use case, I look at building a website, an e-commerce website, like putting a puzzle together. There's so many pieces that go into it, but really, when you think about it, there's a few core pieces that you'll need to focus on, that every site kind of should have. So you look at things like having products and product navigation, having an ordering system, being able to know who your user is and allow them to log in and save profile data about them, and of course having a shopping cart. So the first session was about building out product services, product navigation. This one we're going to focus on the shopping cart. So it'll make use of those product services as well, and you'll see how that all goes together. All right. So again, looking at the shopping cart today, this example here is really what we're kind of driving toward. Of hey, first we have our product data, then we can organize it and navigate through it. But now we want to be able to go through and say, hey, I want this. Let's add it to my cart. No problem. So that really involves like two distinct kind of use cases there. One is about the user cart data. So we're talking about like metadata about the cart, like, hey, this cart belongs to such and such user. Maybe a user has multiple carts. There are some sites out there that have a feature that allow you to build like a wish list, and then convert that wish list into a cart. So that allows you to keep really a user could have a few carts out there, and that's okay. And then of course, the other use case is cart products, where you have a cart and you want to be able to add products to it, take products out of it, list all the products that are in it. So very simply, that's what we're talking about. All right, so just a quick recap on how on proper data modeling for Cassandra and Astra DB. Really, what you want is denormalization as opposed to normalization. You want to make sure you're data modeling for performance, and typically what that involves is you build a table to suit one particular query. And the advantages of this are that you get very, very fast reads. You have a simple query model that's easy to use. But some drawbacks are, well, you have a little bit of data duplication, but I mean, that's okay. You look at today, disk space is super duper cheap, so that's really not too much of a concern. Really, the main concern there is that manual data integrity enforcement. So there are some tricks to keeping that duplicated data in sync that you just have to keep in mind. That's all. And really, the main difference is that like if I have a list of employees and I want to, see what department they're all in, instead of having, two separate tables, like you would in a relational database, here I can build it out just as one table. And that actually will suit the query by being able to go only to one spot inside the database cluster to serve the results. So of course, when you're building out for larger scale, there are some tried and true practices that I do just like to highlight. The general gist that I've kind of covered in the last slide was, hey, data that's queried together should be stored together. Sounds simple enough. The use of keys that have a high cardinality of values is really, really important. That actually leads to good data distribution. And, I'll use an example to kind of illustrate what I mean by that. And I'll start with a bad example. Let's say that, I wanted to partition my data on a Boolean. Well, a Boolean has a cardinality of 2. It's either true or it's false. That's really all there is. And when you're talking about data distribution, that means you'd really only have 2 partitions in the entire database cluster. So that really wouldn't be very good data distribution at all. On the flip side of that, maybe we're partitioning by a UUID or by a timestamp or some other like time date component. That of course has, they're not unique, has a very, very high cardinality of values. So, that's the idea when you're thinking about, how to key your data. You want to make sure that they have a high degree of cardinality. Avoiding full table scans. I know from the relational database world, we all like to do our select star from without a where clause, but yeah, in Cassandra and Astra DB, that doesn't work out so well. Remember, these are distributed databases, and in the distributed database world, network time is really what will cause performance bottlenecks. So you really want to avoid jumping out and scanning all nodes or all rows in a table if you can. And really just the best performing data models that I've seen do a good job of keeping things small. So small column values. They build small result sets. They build small partitions. I don't know a lot of high performing applications that store like, 2 gigabyte blobs in a column. That's just something that, inherently makes it difficult to perform well. All right. So if we kind of look at, like our logic flow, or how, like the conceptual model of how we're building this out, very simply put, a user comes to a website. A user has a shopping cart. We already established they could have a few. And that shopping cart will have some properties like, hey, which user is this for? Is it active? Does this cart have a name? And its ID. Now, of course, a shopping cart will also contain many products. And a product will have things like, an ID, a name, a description. It could have multiple descriptions too. It'll have a price, of course, as well. And actually, price kind of leads to some nuances that, at least in this case, that I'll bring up and highlight as well. So, if you think about that diagram we just looked at with the conceptual data model, really it comes down to like 5 queries. So we need to be able to query a user's active cart. We need to be able to query all carts for a user. We need to be able to view all products in a cart, need to be able to add a product, and we need to be able to remove a product. Very simply put, those are the operations we need to support. So some quick things to add here. Due to my time in e-commerce, I've worked and supported a couple shopping cart teams in that time. And one thing that was constant was that that bot attacks are a very real thing. So you'll have like programmed bots that are out there that will create a cart And next thing you know, they've added 1,000 products into it in a very, very short amount of time. Now, the goals that they're after are up for debate. You know, some people think that, yeah, they do that so they can scrape our prices. Others do that, think that they're doing it for some sort of denial of service attack, because ultimately that's what it ends up being. But to be honest, one thing that you can do to kind of keep a lid on that or narrow that avenue of attack is set a default time to live on your cart data. Now I know that when we go to a website, maybe we add some things to the cart and then we're like, yeah, I don't know, and maybe we come back the next day, you know, and that's okay, that happens. But you know, leaving it out there forever is just another avenue of attack. So, you know, if you look at this particular property that I've set on the tables for today, it's a default time to live of 5,184,000 seconds, which equates to 60 days. And really, it's up to your business to set that, to determine, you know, like, hey, what's a good amount of time where we can get rid of an abandoned cart? You know, 60 days seems like it'd be a pretty good fallback. But the bottom line is that you don't want to leave it out there forever, because it is just an avenue of attack that you know, a bot could take advantage of.
I think Mohammed has a good question here. What kind of time format does Astra DB use or Cassandra use? Does it use like a epoch time, you know, time since wherever, like what most Linux systems do?
It does. It uses, yeah, the Linux, Unix epoch time. Yeah. Yep, that's a good question. All right. So breaking it down to the logical model, you know, we're kind of looking at this, you know, we have our partition keys denoted by PK and our clustering keys denoted by CK. And, you know, real quickly, the difference between them is the partition keys determine where in the cluster the data gets stored, and the clustering keys determine the sort order within a partition. So really, if you think about it, a user will have one active cart, and that user could actually have many carts, but they'll have one active. And then all carts will have products in theory. So when you refine that down into what the actual physical model looks like, we're talking about two tables here, pretty simply. So we have one table called user carts that's keyed by a user ID, and then clustered based on cart name and cart ID. Pretty simple. And then in the cart products table, you know, we have a cart ID as well, so we know which user cart it's associated with. But then we go ahead and cluster on product timestamp. You know, that way the products are actually listed in the cart in the order that they're added. And then, of course, we also have product ID on there as a clustering key as well. Just on the rare chance that you might get something strange happen where you have two products that are recorded at the same time, well, then you have a tiebreaker. It's always good to have a tiebreaker just in case. So if we look at the user cart, you know, you can see that, you know, like I said, it's cart metadata. It essentially what this table does is it maintains the difference between a cart and a wish list. So it'll have this this cart is active Boolean in there. You know, we've got a user ID that we're keying it by. You have a cart ID, cart name, of course, user email as well. Just there are times when you're dealing with cart data that it's useful to have the user email or be able to tie back to that very, very quickly. And of course, we're enforcing our TTL. That's the other important part here. You can see that with time to live down on the bottom. And cart products is pretty similar, you know, in that it's essentially solving the cart query. It's clustering on timestamp. And if you look down here, you can see it's product timestamp descending. So that way, the most recent products added will be at the top, and then there'll be an order from there based on the time that they were added. But you'll maintain things in here like, you know, the product name and description, as well as the quantity that's been added to the cart. Now you notice what's missing from here. I kind of hinted at this before. You'll notice that the price is not in here. and that's done by design. When you actually make a call to this, you're going to want to make a separate call to your pricing service, because you don't want to store the price in the cart, because again, what you could have is, especially these days where prices are very, very volatile based on political and economic properties, there's a lot of retailers out there who are changing their prices very often. And what can happen is that, we have a 60-day TTL. Somebody could add a product from 60 days ago that'll have a 60-day-old price. And when they check out, you'll have to honor that price. So this way, it kind of leads to a little more like service layer logic or front side logic to have that, but it ensures that you're charging your customers appropriately when they go ahead and check out, that they're getting the most recent price. All right. Oh, cruising along here, getting onto the service layer. So the service layer is pretty simple. For the user cart data, we just have a couple of get calls, one to retrieve the metadata for user carts by a user ID, very simple. And then the other one is to pull back the active cart for that user ID. And really what you're trying to do there is, usually when you come onto a site or when you log into a site and you recognize the user ID that's in the cookie, or however you're persisting it, maintaining state, you're pulling back that user's active cart and kind of refreshing where they left off once they log back in, assuming they've done it within the last 60 days. So a quick user cart example. This is just kind of selecting from that table. I should really have a where clause in there. That would be good. But fortunately, I really only had one row in this table when I put this together. But you can see the UUID is the user ID. The cart name is simply just, hey, this is a cart from Thursday, January 20th. Cart ID. I didn't have an email specified, but you can see that this cart is active with the Boolean of true. All right, cart product is a little more complex, where we're talking about doing a put to a cart with a product ID. Of course, that'll go ahead and add a product to the cart. It's one of those methods that's going to get called a lot. Speaking of methods that get called a lot, the get on the cart ID will actually show you everything that's inside of it. So all products that have been added will be listed there. And then, of course, the delete, it's structured much the same way as the put, but essentially it'll remove a product from the cart. The put will actually take the extra payload in JSON of like the quantity, the product's description and name, based on the ID that you're sending along. And we'll show you some of these products in a little bit here. All right, this is an example of, hey, querying from cart product. You can see the cart ID is the same, yet our products and product timestamps all a little bit different. You can see the most recently added at 1910 on the 20th is at the very top. So it is coming through in order by product timestamp. Oh, I suppose before I turn it over to Rags, I have one more thing I could walk through here. We were just talking about the, I hope you all can see this okay. I tried to increase the font quite a bit. I'll do it again, but essentially this is the REST controller that we use for the cart product service. And you can see that, we're injecting the Spring Data repository. And then down here, we do a get mapping on cart ID. And the get is very, very simple. I mean, really all it is we're just calling this find by key cart ID on the cart products repository. And it's going to return a list of, cart products. And that's really all it is. The service layer is pretty simple that way. Likewise, the put mapping. Here, a little more complex, but essentially we're pulling down cart ID and product ID Here we're actually setting the product timestamp. I know Java util date is a little on the older side, but it actually does directly map over to Astra DB's timestamp type, which is why I'm using it, makes that data serialization a little easier. Yeah, and then once we've added that all, essentially we're doing a save into the repository. So very simple. Regs, how about I turn it over to you?
Perfect. Can everybody hear me? I'm going to share my screen in a second.
I'm stopping.
All right. I'm going to share my entire desktop. So probably going to see some us going as well, but I think it's fine. Let me get rid of this. All right. So how do I get started? We have plenty of workshops, everything on GitHub. All that you're going to do is, go find the right link and you're good to go. Okay. So to find the right link, let me show you the link here, git remote -v. You don't need to write any of this down. You just go to github.com/datastacksdevs and let me increase the font. Oh, it blew it up. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, this is actually inside of Gitpod, which is worth mentioning too.
Yeah,
so
I will mention that.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, I was going to bring that, but let's see. So what did
see,
I
now
do?
I'm stealing your thunder.
No worries. No worries. I know you would get back at me. All right. So you're going to start with the link here, right? And I already have this link. Typically the best way to do this, is just have this in different tabs or different windows or so on, and you will be good to go. Okay. So let me see now. Let me go to the. How do I go to the tab? And get rid of this. Where does this go? Oh, mean. All right. Let me do this. This might be the easiest. Enter full screen. And then it's not letting me still. I want to get rid of this tab on the top.
Huh.
Okay. Can't get rid of that tab, huh?
No, that's okay.
I can't stop sharing either. So how do I do this? I know this is funny. We don't use this. We use a different infrastructure to do this, but let's not worry about that for now. So let me kind of this. Okay, I'm struggling here. Sorry. Okay, I didn't want to do that. Okay, so I'm trying to think what's the best way to do this. Let me do this. Yeah, I think I know what I can do. I'm going to go back to regular screen if I can. Come on. All right. One of those days, right? When nothing works. Is this not happening? All right. I'm going to stop share for a second. That might be the easiest way.
All right.
Okay. And then I'm going to share my screen again. All right. I'm going to share the desktop. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my, okay. So let's see if this works. All right. This is a little bit better. Okay. So here, you go back to your GitHub link, right? And all that you're going to do is you're going to follow the instructions. The instructions are very self-explanatory. You start from creating a database, which you probably already have done if you've attended the ecom workshop. But if you haven't done, you're going to use this database name and key space name. And I'm not going to go through that in this particular session because we don't have the time. But this kind of walks you through how to do this, right? It talks about how to, get onto the Astra Console, kind of look at the dashboard, put the database name in there and the key space name in there, which is really, a container for these different tables. And then you specify which cloud you want to have it on, and then bingo, you get your database, your key space. And then once you get your database and key space, it talks about how you can, kind of get your DB ID, your region ID, and things like that. And then, you can go to SQL, okay, and populate all the data. I think Aaron talked about, the different tables, and we'll look at all of them in a moment. But all that you need to do here is, create these tables. If it doesn't exist, the category; if it doesn't exist, the price; if it doesn't exist, the product, and so on and so forth. And again, I'm not going to go through all of this because I've done all this, and in the interest of time, we're just going to jump ahead. Then what you have to do is you have to create a token. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to go into organizations, token management, and then do the database administrator role. And then it is going to generate a token, which you're going to use the values, and you're going to populate that in a second when you open it in what is referred to as Gitpod. Most of our workshops use Gitpod, and it's basically an IDE in the web, IDE in the cloud. Makes it very easy. If you have like Windows or something, it's a pain to actually replicate some of the scenarios and the environment and all that. When you open Gitpod, all of those are automatically set up for you. I think Aaron alluded to some of those, right? Like, for example, we are going to use Spring Boot extensively. So those environments are already set up for you. Tailwind CSS, right? The GUI for that is already set up for you. So you can kind of use this, and if you want to use Gitpod for your hackathons as well, makes it very easy, because what it does is it provides you with a nice, clean environment every time you bring it up, right? All that you're going to do is you're going to click this link, open in Gitpod, and as long as you have a GitHub link, a GitHub ID or GitLab, there are a few of them. It brings you into what is referred to as this file explorer window, and then you have an editor window, and then you have a terminal window, and we're going to do most of it in the terminal window. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to populate the token values and a bunch of those, right? Like, for example, the DB ID, the DB region, the token, and so on. And then you're going to source it and make sure that you have all those values in there. And the first thing that I do all the time is run my unit test. Make sure I can connect, because there's no point in doing anything if I can't connect, right? That will kind of give you a hint of what might be going wrong. A lot of you might have heard of test-driven development. Fantastic. It's always a good idea to even have some minimal tests, to your project, because you never know, if you move from environment to environment to environment, the first thing you want to do is, do I meet the basic test, right? And once you check that off, then you can start doing whatever you want, right? So it shows you how you can run some tests, but I'm going to skip all that. I think we also added a social login where you can add in like a Facebook, like a Google or GitHub or any of those. And all of those are enabled by Spring Boot. Today we'll see actually Google login in action. I've set this all up, but if you want to do it yourself, you can do that as well. You basically go to Google, get those credentials, and you plug it in. So no need to worry of any of that. What I'm going to do is basically start the application, and we'll kind of walk through that. Okay. So I will kind of look at SQL, maybe do a little bit of this, but the idea is that you're going to follow these instructions from the top to the bottom, right? I might have taken a few shortcuts just in the interest of time, but if you follow them, one after another, a lot of times I've tried to take shortcuts and have fallen into some traps. So the best thing to do is just follow it from the top to the bottom. And you can see here, we even have the slide decks, from week 2, week 3, and all that. So whatever Aaron presented today and more is available in those slide decks as well. So all that you need to do, these are all in PDF format. If you want to print it, and I recommend not printing, keep it green. But if you want it, you can do that as well. A lot of good information from week 1, week 2, week 3, and these weeks are also recorded. So if you want to go and watch the workshops, you can do that as well. So enough said. So what this does is it basically provides me with a Git clone of the original repository. So this is the repository, right? And you can see here the code, Aaron walked through some code here. You have the backend, you have the data, and you have the UI as well. Okay, so the UI is the tailwind. The backend is using Spring Boot, and that's providing the REST-based service that you can call. And then what's the other one? The data part, right? So that's those are the three ones. So one thing you can do is you can do a Git Diff, because this will tell you, what are the things that I changed, right? And you can see here I changed a bunch of stuff, just to make sure that my credentials are set up properly and things like that. So once you do that, you're good to go, and all of the instructions are in there for you to follow. Okay. So now that I've set it up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my application, but just to make sure that I have everything correctly done, I'm going to make sure the environment is set up properly. Okay. To do that, I can just do a grep on this, I guess. Okay, and you can see here. Okay, so I think I set it up on the other terminal. Okay, so let's do this. So you can see here I've set it all up, right? I have the DB ID and so on, which I'm going to delete because always in a recorded workshop it's a little dangerous, right? But I have set that all that up. And all that you need to do to run this is invoke this command, right? That's it, right? And if you look at the start command, it's not anything magical, okay? You can see here, it basically sources this .env, which is the environment variables, right? And then starts the Spring Boot application. That's pretty much all that I need to do, right? So let me do the application. But before I do that, let me bring up the, there is a way to get the application. Okay, so if you just type this GPURL 8080, right? This is the application. So I'm going to go and look at my application. Okay, so let me run the application. And you can see port 8080 not found, right? Because the application is not running yet. So, which is fine. Okay, so I'm going to start the application, right? Start it. All right, and hopefully if I go back, it should be running. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the Astra Console, okay? And I'm already in the key space. Okay, I'm going to describe the tables. This is referred to as SQL, which is this Cassandra query language. It's similar to SQL, but not quite the same. There are some differences because we have an eventual consistency model. SQL is a little bit different and so on, okay? The one thing I'll show here is, which one should I just do? Select star from cart products, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, just a simple one.
Yep.
Never a good idea to do a select star because you're going to all the partitions, nothing in there, right? Everything clean. So I'm going to go back, okay, and try to put something into my cart. We'll see if it all works, okay? So I'm going to go to my application. Oh, there the application is running, which is cool, right?
Yay.
We added a social login. So I'm going to log in anyway because I just like to, right? And for some reason, my single sign-on is broken with DataStax, so I'm not going to use the DataStax address, but I'm going to use my Gmail address. And this is the cool part, right? If you do a social login, it will just work. It will do the two-part authentication, whatever that is, right? And let's see if this works, right? I cleared up all the the cache, so it's asking me to do it from the beginning. Okay, and I'm logged in, right? So if I want to save or something, I don't care. Okay, so I can get rid of this. And then what should I put? I like hoodies, so let me.
Yeah, go with the hoodie. There you go.
Yeah, my family thinks I'm crazy to, wear hoodies, but I don't care. Okay, add to cart. Okay, and let's see if this propagated all the way, right? So this is kind of the way in which you do kind of programming. And as a mechanical engineer, I like to see these things move, right? And you can see, hopefully, there is this cart products, right?
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. So the data stacks hoodie, I added one. So maybe what I can do is I can go back and add to whatever. But you get the idea. I'm not going to kind of beat this to death. But essentially, if you had followed Aaron's talk, he talked about data modeling, and all these data models are in Astra. And you can kind of look at it in SQL. But what he stepped through the code for REST, where you have this CRUD-based methods. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. And that's kind of how you manipulate all these different tables, right? Essentially, this was done with possibly a create or an update, right? So that's kind of how, let's say you modify this to a 2, then, all that you're going to do is you're going to update it, right? And then finally, at some point, you're going to check it out, right? So let me see if I can check it out, right? So I added it to the cart. And where do I check out?
It's the
cart.
shopping bag looking thing.
Right.
Yeah.
and I had 2 hoodies, right, because I just clicked on it twice, right? And I'm going to go check out.
Oh, all right. That's a bug. We should we should make sure that it combines those 2 lines into one
into one. Yeah.
Quantity.
Okay. So then, of course, this is work in progress, which is why the checkout part is not completely done yet. But
checkout button doesn't work.
But even without that, there are fairly sophisticated things that we are doing here. You can do the single sign-on. You can look through these different products, and so on and so forth. And all that I needed to do was, basically get this code. The Tailwind part, I didn't even do anything with it, right? I updated the credentials to be able to use my database. So in your case, it's going to be different. You'll have to update that, and then. Bingo, I have my own shopping cart as well, right? Or my own shopping cart application. So that's in essence what we did. Very quick run through, but like I said, there are workshops, there are recordings, and all that you can take your own time to kind of watch through and get comfortable. With that, I'll stop sharing and give control back to either Aaron or Ashta. I don't know who's going to take over at this point.
I will be happy to take it over, Rags.
All right. I gave you enough time, 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I think that's enough for me as well. So first of all, thank you so much, Aaron and Rags. That was really, really interesting. I know for a fact before this workshop, we were just talking about the fact that the e-commerce app and just to demo it, it takes a lot of time, but really good job for concising it and still making it so relevant for us. So thank you so much, both of you. I might not think that we would have time for quick Q&As, but I think one of the questions that was asked in the chat was already answered. But just a quick note to all the participants of the webinar today and whoever is actually watching us live on YouTube. If you have any queries, obviously, once you've joined our hackathon or if you're a participant already, we have mentor channels where both Aaron and Rags are available. So in case you have any queries, do drop it over there and any one of our mentors could pick it up. Because I'm sure after you actually go ahead and try it after this workshop, you will have some queries and you can definitely come back to us and ask that. So with that, probably I would just quickly take you through the next steps before we actually end for today, because we just have a couple of minutes. So just taking a bit of time, and here we go. So yes. So now that you've signed up for the hack